Hi YouTube, this is Mark from Abilities, and today I'm going to be talking about why I chose to get an ostomy, how things have been going, and what are the supplies that I use to be as independent as possible. Now, when I first got injured with my spinal cord injury, I heard the term neurogenic bowel, and I was like, what is that? So when you have a spinal cord injury, aside from getting paralyzed, you have a lot of these secondary conditions, and one of them is a neurogenic bowel, which without getting into a lot of detail, basically means my bowel doesn't work on its own anymore. I have to train it. So that means in order to evacuate, to go number two, I had to learn some different techniques in order to empty my bowel. And some of the things that I learned, which I couldn't do on my own, were having someone basically stick their finger up my rectum, either disimpact, pull poop out, or to digitally stem the area down there to stimulate it so that I could evacuate. One of the other things is that they recommended was to use like a suppository, which you could do that like maybe twice a week, every other day, so on and so forth. But that was something that I wasn't ready to do in the beginning. So what I ended up doing, because I had some sensation and I wanted to be an independent, was I just decided that when I felt like I had to go, I was going to hop on and off the toilets, which really was not smart. So in doing that, I probably hurt myself down there. I did that for 10 years before I started doing bowel programs. And that led to hemorrhoids and surgeries that I had to have later on, which I'll get into. But, when you have a spinal cord injury, doing a bowel program, after a while, it can work for a lot of people and it can be really good. For me, I always tended to have accidents, maybe every couple months. And that was, that was a problem for me. Like mentally, I couldn't handle that. Going in and going out to different places, I was always worried. I think every time I went out, I was always scoping out, okay, is it an accessible toilet? Does it have multiple stalls? How far is it from home? Like it created a lot of anxiety for me. So, about 20 plus years post, I started to have these surgeries. So I had a lot of hemorrhoids, a lot of bleeding. I had to do what was called a stapled hemorrhoidectomy, where they basically go and kind of clean out the whole area and realign the wall of your rectum. And that was not fun. And I started to get to a point where I was using a suppository every day. And I was sitting on the toilet, I would say 2 hours every morning. So if you can think about that, getting tired, having autonomic dysreflexia, just feeling horrible about having to do this every day. And the accidents were still happening. Bleeding was still happening. It was just mentally and physically, it was taking a toll on my life. So I learned about, what a colostomy was. A lot of people get them when, maybe they have like Crohn's or they have cancer or they have like an accident and maybe the bowel is destroyed like in a car accident or something like that. So it wasn't something that people voluntarily, opt to do the surgery. But I started to read up on it and I learned that a lot more people, especially higher level quads, were having this done. And so I don't like the idea of surgery, but I thought, let me check into this and let me see what it's all about. And so when I saw that people really liked it and they said, oh, I should have done this 20 years ago, I started to really get serious about it. So the individual, the physician that had done my surgery, the surgeries for my hemorrhoidectomies, I talked to him about it, and he said it's a relatively easy procedure. It's reversible, and it might be a game changer for you. So I had to kind of get comfortable with the whole idea of having like a hole in my stomach over here. So this is where my bag is attached, and I'll go into what that is. But basically, what they do with an ostomy is they take your colon and they cut it, so you still have it attached to your rectum inside, but they cut a piece higher up, and then they come through the your stomach wall, like your stomach muscles, and they sew it into those muscles. So you basically have what looks like a pair of lips, like that, coming out, and that's your part of your colon. It's just right there. So that's where you're gonna poop. And for a little while, I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. I don't want to have anything attached. But then I thought, you know what? I'm catheterizing 5 to 7 times a day. I'm peeing myself. I was having accidents. I was like, this isn't really that big a deal to have something strapped onto my stomach. I can deal with that. So then it was, okay, I don't want to have surgery. I don't want to have anesthesia, all that business. But I talked to somebody who was about to have it done, a good buddy of mine, Bobby Rohan. He was a few months ahead of me in the process. He was doing the same thing. And he got it done, and he was like, dude, it was not a big deal. I was in the hospital for 2 days so they can make sure everything was working, and then I was out, and he was up and running. So I was like, oh man, I got to do this. And so I scheduled it, had it done, and yeah, I was in the hospital for like a day. Things started working, it started to move, and then that's what they really want to do, is they want to keep you in the hospital so you make sure like that you know, the pipes are working. And so that was pretty much it. After that day, they wanted me to stay an extra day just to make sure like the healing was taking place. But relatively easy surgery, not a lot of pain. I went home and I had a home health nurse come for like 2 weeks to kind of show me how to use the products. So I'll just give you a quick rundown here. There's a lot of different products out there, but the one that I chose to use was this Hollister 2-piece set. So essentially, what you do is you've got a wafer that's going to go on your stomach. So it looks like this. It's basically like a big Band-Aid with some, kind of fancy Duoderm stuff that's good for your skin. So you're going to take this and cut it if you need to, depending on the shape of your stoma, which is that piece of the colon that's coming out. It's just going to stick on your stomach like that. Now it has this nice little ring on here. This is what they call a 2-piece set. And if you can think of like Tupperware, that's an old term, but like Ziploc, the things that snap, this just snaps onto the wafer. And I like this much better because when this fills up with poop, I really don't want to like have it just chilling and hanging out there for the whole day. I like to be able to take it off, throw it away, and you just snap a new one on. They do make bags that you can drain and empty, but without the hand function, like it's just gross. Like I've tried doing that to empty it out and then fold it back up, and no, it's not worth it for me. So this has been a really good system for me. This is the 2-piece from Hollister. They make a bunch of different products. There's other companies that have stuff, Coloplast, and I'm trying to think of one of the other ones. But yeah, this has been easy for me. I love it. But anyway, going back to this, this has been about 5 years for me that I've had this, and I love it because now I've got those 2 hours a day back. I'm not worried about, if I go eat or do something, I can eat freely now. I'm not worried about, oh, I can't eat that because my bowel problem is going to be the next day and we're going to, a concert and they might not have a bathroom. I don't think about that stuff anymore. I mean, I still have, like upset stomachs and things that maybe I shouldn't have eaten that maybe I get gas in my bag, but it's so much easier to manage. This is literally pulling this off and throwing it away. So if there are some things that I feel uncomfortable about, like noise, that's one of the things that I would say is the downside of having this. My stoma is very noisy. So I am always kind of like this if I'm eating or I'm going somewhere because it makes fart noises. You just can't get around it. That's me. But I know other people, theirs doesn't make loud noises. It makes little, gurgling noises. That's fine. But that's about the only downside. That, and then if I do have an upset stomach, it'll fill full of liquid. But otherwise, I mean, being able to be out and poop whenever, pull this off, throw it away, and know that I'm emptying my body, I feel good, and I'm not worried about going to a bathroom, that's a huge plus. So that was the reason why I elected to have this surgery 5 years ago. And I, just like I said before, the individual that I talked to, yeah, I wish I would have done it like 20 years ago. I wish they would have told me in the hospital that this is an option for a bowel program because, yeah, when you're injured early on, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to walk again, or I want my body to be normal, right? That's why I hopped on and off a toilet for 10 years because I thought, oh, I want to poop normally. I want to get on there. I don't want to have someone's finger in my butt or use a suppository or things like that. And so, when you can kind of get over that, you realize that this is a lot more freedom. Think about traveling when you're flying or driving, or you're out fishing in the middle of nowhere and all of a sudden you're like, oh no, poop in a bag. It's cool. I mean, honestly, I'm going to normalize this and make it cool. But anyway, so hopefully that was informative. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, you were thinking about it, or maybe you're not comfortable leaving a message, you can always email me at mark@abilities.com. I'm an open book, so I'm more than happy to talk to you about it, the process of, you know, getting the surgery, what that looks like, whether it's covered by insurance, the recovery process, getting the supplies, all of those things. I can definitely help you with that. But yeah, all in all, I've been very happy with my ostomy. It's been a game changer for me, living, you know, post 30 years SCI life in a chair. It's just one less thing that I don't have to worry about. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Like I said, reach out. If you like this video, give it a like. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Leave some comments, and yeah, just keep coming back. I'm going to be coming out with more content. It's not just going to be about product reviews. I'm going to talk about my life, and I'm going to be an open book. So hopefully you'll join me on this next phase of my journey. Thank you again for joining me.